So, hello and welcome back to Fashionably Awkward podcast. We are very excited to welcome our special guest James Gaubert, founder and creative director of Republic Fashion. In today's episode, we'll talk about blurring lines between digital and physical world and the new shift in the consumer behavior towards social media dressing and all about digital clothing. We'll discuss the ins and outs about digital fashion in today's episode.
Our guest today is James, the founder and creative director of Republiqe. James has worked over 22 years for luxury fashion experience spanning the UK, US, Middle East, and Asia. He's a designer and stylist who has worked with everyone from Chanel and Burberry to Bulgari and Louis Vuitton. James is keen to bring change in the industry and led the way for both a digital and sustainability perspective through this brand Republiqe clothing.
Yeah, a little bit about the brand. Republiqe was launched in August of 2020 during the pandemic. It's the world's first digital luxury fast fashion brand that designs unique creation that break the norm of creativity and create an extraordinary lifestyle and not only challenge but also redefine the entire category of clothing. So, hi, James, and thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. Lovely to see you both.
Perfect. Lovely to see you too. So with this, let's start with our first question. First, we would like to know what was the inspiration behind the brand Republiqe and what does the brand stand for?
Yeah, very good question. So I think we've changed a bit from when we launched, because 2 years ago we were in the early pandemic days, and the world's changed a bit since then. I think that the inspiration, I guess, behind the brand and why we first launched was to ultimately create a sustainable alternative to fast fashion. I think recognizing the damage that is being caused to the planet we live on by the fashion industry and the fast fashion industry specific, and also recognizing consumer behavior leaning more towards that kind of digital lifestyle, that social first presence, etc., is essentially why we launched the brand. I think our goal at the time was, if a consumer was spending, I don't know, say $100 a month on physical clothing, if they just moved a portion of that money each month to digital clothing, that would have a positive impact on the world around us, right? And do some good towards the damage that has been done by the fashion industry, and again, particularly the fast fashion industry. So that was, I guess, really the kind of inspirational ethos behind why we launched initially.
Okay, that sounds exciting and actually right according to like what the mood was during the pandemic also, that people were moving towards sustainability and digital spaces.
Yeah, I think, look, especially the today's kind of modern young Gen Z consumer. So we always say there's a little bit of Greta Thunberg in everybody of that kind of Gen Z era, who, as part of their decision-making process when looking at brands, want to choose brands that are doing right by the environment, more so than anybody else. And I think that they're smart. I can say that because I'm older, but I think Gen Z consumers are smart, and they don't want, they don't believe in this kind of greenwashing, or these companies that just say they recycle cardboard or whatever it is in an office. It's about more than that. It's about having sustainability deep rooted into the values of your business, which is what we were, I guess, really trying to do.
Yeah, it's very interesting because to see that shift in Gen Z and also the young millennials, how they are like opting for digital fashion more than the physical fashion, because of the awareness that has been created through social media. And like you said, that Gen Z are very smart. Like they do their research, they have done their homework. So the brand that are into greenwashing and are trying to fool us only through their social media campaign, or whatever they put up on their pages just to create awareness about sustainability and everything else. So I feel that's a great, exciting thing to observe and see in terms of how they will respond to digital fashion and how they have been responding over the years, like since
Yeah,
2020.
yeah, correct. I think so. So again, if I go back to the beginning, so our initial messaging was around sustainability. It was around I guess kind of fully inclusive. So
Yeah,
digital clothing is a one size fits all. So it doesn't matter about your
yeah,
body shape or size or the color of your skin or your sexual orientation. Doesn't matter. None of that really matters in this world.
right,
So it doesn't matter if you're a boy, a girl, you're straight, you're gay, you're
right.
African, you're English, you're a size 8, a size 0, a size 18. Doesn't matter. It literally is fully inclusive. So we have messaging around sustainability, inclusivity, and then the last bit was around ethical production. So I've spent quite a large part of my career historically in Asia and got to see, firsthand in some of the sort of, I guess you'd call them kind of factories and manufacturing plants, people working for very poor money and very poor conditions as well. Again, I'm looking at you on a big sort of IMAX screen here. So again, everything we do is, the staff are paid well. They have nice office environment. They work on machines, electronic machines, computers, etc. So we kind of feel that we ticked a lot of boxes, which made us a pretty hearty and solid alternative for other traditional fashion brands.
Yeah, it's true. Like we've been through your website, and it seems like your brand is very inclusive. It's gender neutral.
Yeah.
It's yeah, everything about your brand, like healthy work environment, and the team being so diverse. So it's very nice and inspiring to see a fashion brand not opting for a traditional way of doing a particular job. So being said that, because like you have positioned Republique as a fast fashion brand, yet sustainability is its core value. So could you just like elaborate on this contradiction?
Yeah, well, so that would be a tradition. That would be a contradiction if you were thinking in physical clothing terms. But for me, in a digital world, it's not a contradiction. So when it comes to clothing design, we think we are three things. Firstly, we think we're luxury because we use luxury fabrics, albeit digital. We've got garments we've created that have been encrusted and embellished in diamonds or fragments of gold and silver that in the real world would cost us tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars to create. But there are no creative boundaries in the digital world, so in the virtual world. So we believe our clothing has the potential to be and fall into a luxury category, number one. Number two, we can create clothing very quickly. So we can create a new garment in a matter of hours. So we believe that that's far quicker than any fast fashion brand can do. So we can be luxury and we can be fast fashion. And because it's digital or virtual, it's also sustainable. So we're able to tick multiple boxes that in the real world, you wouldn't be able to do. You would either be luxury, sustainable, or fast fashion. You couldn't do all three in the real world, right? You couldn't be luxury. You might be able to be luxury and sustainable, I guess, but you couldn't be fast fashion and sustainable. You couldn't be fast fashion and luxury. I think that's why we say in the digital world, in the virtual space, we're able to kind of wear different hats and be, tick multiple boxes.
Yeah,
right, absolutely.
exactly right. And I also think because you're able to, tick multiple boxes, you're able to give a lot of variety to people. Like we were going through your website and you have tees, you have avant-garde look, you have all like categories in there. So it's really exciting from a consumer point of view also.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, and we try to categorize some of our clothing in different brackets as well. So we don't. It's not like t-shirts, tops, trousers, and we try to be a little bit quirky and a little bit different because we can, and we don't have the constraints that the typical physical world fashion brands have, right?
Yeah, exactly. And with that, we would like to know who are the consumers of digital fashion, both in the perspective of B2B and B2C, and how are they reacting to digital clothing?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I'm going to give you quite a long answer to this because there are different groups of people who we sell to. I guess our core target audience and our biggest target market is what I would class as the kind of fashion savvy Gen Z consumers.
Yeah.
Our sweet spot seems to be female led between the ages of around 17 and 24. Now that's the typical profile. Now you'll know who I mean when I say this, but that's the typical kind of profile of somebody who cares about what they look like on social media. They want to portray a certain image and a certain view, which might be slightly different to the reality and what they're doing in the real world. But I'm not here to judge that. But they want to look good where it matters most to them, which is online and on social media. So that's category and group number one. Group number two is then when we get into the kind of, I guess you call it the sort of NFT space. And then you see that there's more of a skew there towards males rather than females who are buying virtual clothing, not so much to wear, but as more of an investment opportunity. So if it's an NFT, it sits on a blockchain. It is effectively a form of digital currency. So people buy it ultimately as a form of investment with the hope of reselling later on for a greater value. So we've got Gen Z consumers as the fashionistas wearing the clothing. We've got the investment type NFT consumers, which although are still more heavily skewed towards male, but we are seeing more and more female get into that space. So I would expect that to change as the market matures. And then the last group is the brands that we work with as well. So we work not only with end consumers, but with brands. So we work with the likes of ASOS, Coach, we've done stuff with Adidas, Estemanas, Monnier Paris, a whole bunch of brands where we effectively take their physical product, their in real life, in real world product, and turn it into a digital asset, a digital wearable. And we're doing more and more of that at the moment. And that seems to be a huge thing that a lot of brands are wanting to get involved in, for sure.
This actually sounds very exciting, like how diverse it has become.
Massively. And again, when we started, we were purely targeting Gen Z consumers. And I think more and more of the brands could see what we were doing. And they're like, oh, how do we do that? They don't have the skill set that we've got to be able to do that. So they partner with us, or we partner with them to take their product and turn it into something that is, I guess, kind of wearable in a digital sense or a virtual sense.
And I also like the way that you have, as a brand, you have a clarity about your audience. Like you have been such clarity in terms of you have segregated them in 3 different categories, which is very nice to understand your perspective as how to, target particular set of audience.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, I know that now. I didn't know that 2 years ago. And that's kind of been a little bit of what I call kind of trial and error in getting to that point. We spent a lot of money at the beginning sort of in promotion and marketing our brand to all different age groups. And it's that younger age group where we've resonated the most. I'm in my mid-40s. Would I buy virtual clothing? Probably not. It's probably not right for me. But like I said, a Gen Z consumer who lives their life online, who's a gamer, who is immersed in that virtual world, for them it's far more acceptable. In fact, they're doing it in game on Call of Duty or Roblox or Fortnite or whatever already. So it's just kind of, it's just taking that premise and applying it to themselves. So I think they understand it far more. I'll never forget the conversation. So my mum is in her late 60s, early 70s. And the first conversation I had with her back in 2019, 2020 about what I was doing. And she looked at me and she just didn't understand it. And in fact, she still doesn't understand it. But that's fine because she's not our target consumer. I'm okay with that. But yeah, it's been a process of evolution to find those sweet spots, I think.
Yeah, and like you said that you resonate with the younger generation most. So the younger generation are the ones who are most active on social media like TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. So do you feel that for your brand, these platforms have played an important role, and how it has helped your brand so far?
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, those channels, as I guess kind of tools to push and promote our brand have been very useful. But that's changing as well. So I think as more and more people spend more time in games, in metaverse worlds, in decentralized platforms, I think we're going to see a shift, and there's probably going to be more use of those sort of platforms and channels than the traditional Instagram and whatever of this world. I think if you look at consumers and how we spend our time, it's changed. So when I was growing up, we read these funny things called books. You don't see them very much anymore. The books then have sort of merged into the internet, and then people went online and did everything online. Then social media came along, and everyone spent time on social media. Now we're entering this new realm of the metaverse. For me, that's the future. We just have to look at the fact that, Mark Zuckerberg renamed Facebook to Meta, rightly or wrongly, and I can have a whole other debate about whether that was a good thing or not, but that's a massive nod towards this whole new cusp and new world that we're entering, and it's going to transform how we behave and interact with each other. And that for me is a far greater opportunity than making sure we are pushing out content on Instagram or Facebook at the moment. I think there is the people who use Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, even TikTok are becoming older. They're aging. TikTok started as a very young platform where, almost like Snapchat, where it was kind of 11 to 16-year-olds. Now you've got sort of 35, 40-year-olds on there. And as soon as that happens, do you know what happens to those platforms? They become uncool. And they become, people don't want to be on them anymore. As soon as my mum was on Facebook, I was off there. I was like, I'm not going to be anymore. Right? And that's going to happen. That's going to happen. That's going to cascade down.
Yeah.
But the one area which I think is uber cool at the moment is the metaverse and these virtual worlds. And a lot of people struggle to get their head around it. So I think there's a whole new customer segment within those that I think for me is of far more value than the traditional social channels.
Yeah, that's actually right. Like with social media, it keeps on changing. There are new platforms, there are new places that people discover where there's like untapped, creativity that can be used to understand and, interact with people. So definitely metaverse is something that is so exciting, especially for a brand like yours. It has like unimaginable scope of, development on such places, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And also Republiq has worked with many big brands, as you previously mentioned, like Coach and ASOS, etc. So what was your experience like when working with these brands who create traditional clothes? Of course, how was the creative process of making sure you make like a great digital product for them?
Yeah, the very, very good point. The process actually with all of those physical brands has actually been very enjoyable and quite pleasant. I think for a lot of these physical brands, they are used to a very different world. They are used to working with manufacturing plants all over the world. They're used to waiting 3 months before they can see an item of clothing that they've designed come out of a factory. And the turnaround time and the process and the supply chain with physical clothing or accessories is very long. I think they are probably, in fact not probably, but they are, I think, quite pleasantly surprised when they work with us and they give us a design, and within a day we've turned it around and we've created 5 different color samples and 101 different images from different angles and things like that in the real world would take them months to do. So I think they've all been very impressed at the speed to create the garments, and I think they're all super excited about this virtual world, again, the metaverse and things like that. I think for them, it feels like a new revenue opportunity for them. Ultimately, they're in business and they're looking to make money. And for them, it's an additional route to market.
Yeah.
I think a lot of those brands want to as well try and remain relevant and cool to a new audience, and doing stuff in the digital and virtual space, I think makes them look good as a brand. Some of them don't have a great reputation. I'm not going to name any names, but some of them don't have a great reputation when it comes to sustainability. So again, this helps them tick that box. So I think it's kind of a win-win-win for them. I think it helps them in a number of different ways, and certainly everyone we've worked with so far has been a pleasure to work with, and been really, really impressed, which is great.
That's really awesome. It's great.
Yeah, that's interesting to hear. Also, with that, like how we are seeing the transition between a digital clothing to physical clothing to digital clothing, and also the fashion week is moving into the digital world. So, how was your experience for creating like 5 bespoke outfit for the Decentraland Metaverse Fashion Week?
Yeah, sure. So Metaverse Fashion Week was an unusual experience, having worked in physical fashion weeks where there is a physical runways, there's physical shows, there's talks, there's a whole kind of community aspect to it in real life. Obviously, the Metaverse Fashion Week was the first one of its kind in the digital sphere, in the metaverse, and I don't think any of us really knew how it was going to go and what it was going to be like. But it was actually a really positive experience. So we had a shop, a virtual store that we created with Decentraland. We designed with them, we fitted it out, etc. And we were selling, so our store was split over 2 floors where we were selling our garments on one floor that we designed, and then on the bottom floor we were selling accessories from other brands that we were working with. And again, it was good, it was useful. I think over the course of the 3 or 4 days, I think there was something like 40,000 people that came and viewed everything, which is, for me to reach that a number of people on the internet or social media, on our own website is quite a challenge. So it was very good in helping to raise awareness of us as a brand, what we're doing, of the Fashion Week, etc. I think there's still a way to go, and I'm sure the guys at Decentraland won't mind me saying this, but I think the user experience in some of these kind of metaverse worlds, I think still needs to be a little bit slicker and a little bit more user friendly, perhaps. But I think, look, it was the first one. We were there, I don't know, I can't remember who else was there, but there was a whole heap of, global brands were involved in this. This is on everybody's radar, and people are, the amount of publicity and press and articles, etc., off the back of it's huge. So it's, it's clearly the start of something that we're going to see more of, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as it grows, it becomes more interesting for people who have never seen any virtual shows. So I think it will definitely grow and become much more bigger than what it is, like how traditional fashion shows are. It will be much more better than that, because accessibility will be across the world, and it will be a wonderful experience for everyone also.
Yeah, no, agreed. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, it was fun. I don't think it's going to fully replace the fashion shows, the physical ones, but I think it will be another event. Yeah, an add-on, another event in the calendar that will become bigger and bigger, for sure.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So we were going through your website, and we would like to know what is the shopping experience on the website, because it's a digital garment. Could you explain us how is the process different?
Yeah, sure. So there's 2 ways to buy a product. So the first one is to go onto the website, and to, just as if you were on any other e-commerce site, you browse through the products, you find a product that you like, and then at point of purchase, so when you're just going through the kind of, I guess you call it the checkout process, you then upload a photo of yourself, and that then gets routed through to my digital tailoring team, or our digital tailoring team, who then fit your garment to your photo and then send that back to you so that you've got a photo of yourself wearing the garment. And you can then push that out on social media and say, hey, here I am wearing my new digital outfit. It's fully sustainable. It's blah, 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 ethically produced, one size fits all. And I think, our garments, we try to push the boundaries from a creativity perspective. So hopefully they're not the kind of things you'd be able to buy in a normal shop. So we're trying to create things that are, a little bit more crazy or a little bit more out there, etc. So that's one way of making a purchase. The other is when we sell them in game or in platform. So if you're in Roblox or Decentraland or anywhere like that, and when you're buying our garments in those platforms, they fit to your avatar. So it's then your avatar that's wearing the garments. So it's not you wearing it, it's your character or your avatar within the game that is then dressed wearing the clothing that we've designed.
That's really
so it's kind of a fit for social media and then a fit for in game and in platform.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like it's really like interesting because when I was going through your website, all the garments that were there, they were so exciting that you wouldn't really try traditionally, like you wouldn't try such garments when you go for shopping. But since digitally it's an option that's available, like bubble gown and many different things that were there, I was really excited.
Yeah, I think again, my view is if we're creating stuff that's digital where we've got no creative boundaries, we can be a bit more adventurous than if we were in a real world. I guess the other thing is that if we're creating just the same type of clothing that you can buy in a physical world, why would somebody then go and buy the digital version of it? I don't know. You need to be a bit different and like I say, be pushing the boundaries a bit, I think.
Exactly. That's the most exciting part of digital clothing, definitely.
So with this, like would like to know that what does the future hold for Republiqe?
Goodness me. I don't know is the honest answer. And I say that slightly sort of tongue in cheek. If, I think this is a very new space still, and we're still trying to carve out a new sort of subsector within the industry. And I don't think any of us really know where the future lies. I think for me, as I mentioned earlier, the metaverse is key. This new era and virtual space that we're all entering cannot be ignored. And at the moment, if I look at all of the industries that are involved in the metaverse, the fashion industry really seems to be leading the way. So I think the metaverse is a huge opportunity. Sitting alongside that, I think the collectible space and around the NFTs is massive. And I think that's going to be something that will be exploited more. I think wearables that have more of a utility purpose, I think, is key. So maybe we create digital clothing that changes color with your mood, or whatever it might be. I don't know the answer, because I think as an organization we are constantly challenging what can be done with technology. And equally, we're also looking at what technology is doing in other areas and how that can be applied to what we're doing. So I think it's a case of we're figuring this out as we go a little bit, but it's a super exciting space with massive opportunities, massive potential. I think the brands piece is huge for us. So we're already working with big global brands, and I'm sure. Well, I'm not sure. There are a lot more brands out there, and I don't think it's going to be long before every fashion brand on this planet is going to need to have a virtual fashion line or a digital fashion, collection at some point. So again, that's a huge opportunity for us. So it's exciting.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And like you previously mentioned that we need to make the space more user friendly for more people to resonate with it. And like today I visited your website and I felt more connected to it because you have explained each and every process so thoroughly, even when it comes to taking a picture which you have to upload for the outfit that you bought. So I feel like more brand needs to incorporate such ideas in their metaverse website, digital garments, so that more people can resonate to the brand and make it like less complicated for them to use the website and everything.
It does. It needs to, and I think that's the key. And I think that's where there's perhaps still an area of growth, not just for us, but for everybody, is making this a seamless experience, right? For everyone, so that it's easy to adopt and understand. the biggest thing, and I think the piece that still needs the most, I guess you'd call it kind of education, is around actually just what is virtual clothing and digital fashion. Because I'm sure that if you stopped 100 people in the street and said what is virtual fashion or what is digital clothing, you'd get some very different answers, and a lot of them I think would be incorrect. So I think we're still not mainstream yet. I think we've got a long way to go, but I think we're making good progress in that direction.
Yes, you are.
Right.
So with this, we come to an end of our interview, and we would love to know where our audience can check out Republiqe collection and reach out to you.
Yeah, sure. So you can visit, the best place to go is our website, which is Republiqe, which is REPUBLIQE .co. So republique.co is our website. Other than that, we're in, as I mentioned to you, we're in a whole bunch of virtual worlds as well. The main one we're in at the moment is Decentraland, where we've got various wearables there for dressing avatars and things like that. That's pretty much it, I think.
Great. So on behalf of our podcast audience, we would like to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to do this interview for us. It was a pleasure to have you on, and we are really excited and inspired by your journey with Republiqe, since it's like a redefining and disrupting the fashion industry with the tech and digital clothing. We are truly inspired by your brand's vision. Thank you so much for doing this with us today.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you ever so much. Lovely to be here.